Hi, I'm Dave Vickers and welcome to Photo Show. In today's episode we're going to look at the latest release from Fujifilm, which is the GFX 50S. Remember, if you like what you see on the Photo Show, please comment, like and subscribe in the boxes below. Let's have a look at the Fuji GFX 50S. At last year's CES show in Las Vegas, there were two major camera announcements that caught everyone's attention. The first was the Panasonic GH5, which we looked at in a previous episode. And the other was Fujifilm announcing they were coming back into the medium format camera market with their GFX 50S. Now, Fuji have quite a history of medium format, going back to the film days. They had a few collaborations with companies like Hasselblad, but I believe this is their first foray back into medium format in the digital age. So what Fuji have produced here is a medium format mirrorless camera. Size-wise, it's pretty similar to a modern DSLR. It's not much bigger than most modern cameras. But where it is bigger is in its sensor size. It has a 51.4 megapixel sensor that's 44mm by 33mm in size, which makes it approximately 1.7 times larger than a full frame sensor. And with it having the larger sensor and larger pixels, that should give it a wider tonal range and better performance in low light. It has an ISO range that is between ISO 100 and ISO 12800 with a maximum shutter speed of 1/4000th of a second, shooting at 3 frames per second. Now, looking at those numbers, I think what it's telling you is this isn't a camera that's designed for sports and wildlife shooting. It hasn't got a fast enough shutter speed and it has got a fast enough frame rate for that kind of photography, but that's not the market it's aimed for. Because it's a mirrorless camera, it has an electronic viewfinder, and what Fuji have done on the GFX 50 is to make it a removable electronic viewfinder. So it fits onto the camera via the hot shoe on the top, and what this is going to enable them to do is to release different viewfinders for different uses. You could have some viewfinder which is more of a look down kind of image if you're shooting products and stuff like that, and maybe movable viewfinders that they're going to release at later dates. On the back of the camera, it has a 3.2 inch touchscreen, which is tilting only. It's not fully articulated, but again, with this kind of camera, I can't see it being used for vlogging, so not having the articulated screen is not such a deal buster on a camera like this. Inside the camera, we've got dual SD card slots, so it's running standard cards. It's not running anything like the XQD cards. It has HDMI, USB 3, plus mic and headphone inputs in the body as well. Video wise, it's only shooting at 1080p, so no 4K on this camera. But again, I can't see anyone buying this kind of camera for its video capabilities. That's very much not what this camera is all about. With it having the larger sensor size, what it is going to allow you to do is to shoot in different aspect ratios. The standard ratio on the camera is 4:3, as you can tell by 44 by 33mm. So that's the standard ratio for the sensor. But by just using portions of the sensor, it will shoot in 16:9, as in widescreen, 1:1, which will give you a square image, much like classic Hasselblad shots back in the film days, 6:7, much like classic Pentax back in the film days as well. And there's a bunch of different options for shooting panorama straight in the camera as well. So the larger sensor size is giving you options on your aspect ratio directly in camera, rather than sort of something you're shooting and playing around with in post-production. It will shoot JPEGs. And it also now has a super fine JPEG setting. As well as shooting RAW, it will allow you to convert RAWs within the camera to TIFF files and export TIFF files directly out of the camera from a RAW image. So you're getting lossless files directly from the camera. So again, this camera is all about image quality and sort of getting the highest image file from the camera that's possible. Because it's a Fuji, and Fuji include this on a lot of their cameras, that it has the Fujifilm simulation settings within it, which will give you approximations of classic Fujifilm, such as Provia, which was loved by a lot of portrait photographers back in the film days, and Velvia, which was loved by a lot of landscape photographers. So that's another thing you can do directly in the camera, is apply a film simulation to give a look to the images before they're exported out. So who's this camera for? I mean, as we were saying earlier, it's definitely not a sports and wildlife camera. The specs are showing that it's not fast enough and fast enough frame rate for that kind of imagery. But I can definitely see it used for high-end portraits, whether that's studio work or whether that's location magazine work. Also product photography, if you're shooting high-end products and you want best image quality, this kind of camera would definitely give you that. But with it being a smaller body size and not as cumbersome, I can also see a lot of landscape photographers, who want to shoot high-end landscape images, being able to take this out in the field and get really great images with this camera. It's going to be available as of the 1st of March 2017, and price-wise, I warn you now, it's not cheap. Body only, in the UK, it's going to retail at £6,200, which in the US is around $6,500. So we're not talking about this being a camera for everybody. I think the medium format market, especially digitally, is quite narrow. There are a few other manufacturers. Hasselblad have their X1D 50C camera, which retails at about £7,800, and Pentax had the 654Z, which is about £6,500. So these aren't cheap cameras, and as we were saying, they're definitely not for everybody. And I can't see sort of people who are using full frame cameras now really wanting to jump into the medium format size. But I could be wrong. Who knows? It may be a new era in digital photography about to sort of come back into fruition. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Whether you think that this is just a very narrow market for this camera, or whether you think there is a wider application for it. Anyway, that's our look at the Fuji GFX 50S. I'm Dave Vickers. This is The Photo Show. Thanks for watching. See you next time. That's our look at the Fujifilm... Oh God, what's it called?